The 2018 Red Sox that won 108 games, which is one of the best Red Sox team for a full season that I've ever witnessed. Probably you as well. I'm older than you, unless you want to argue some other team.
I don't know how you could argue that they weren't the best Red Sox team ever, just based on the sheer numbers. It was the most wins they ever had. They only lost 3 games. I mean, it was like ridiculous, and
they never won more than 10 in a row. That's the most they won was 10 in a row. And one more fact for you, and then we'll get into some more things. But Boston came in last night with a 14-game win streak. Baltimore with a 7. So the total streak was 20 wins. So the streak between the two teams, 20 win streak. Second time ever. Last time that happened, can you guess the year? And who was our president?
I don't know.
The year and president when two teams played each other and they had a 20-game combined
I saw it was a really long time ago. I'll say that.
It was a very long time ago.
80 years or something.
1884. Chester A. Arthur had just left office, died of dysentery on the Oregon Trail.
Okay.
That's not true. People out there are going to fact check me.
I'd believe it. I don't know.
60-40, a Red Sox podcast. Big John and Sean, hot takes, special guest. This is 60-40.
Finally, we have returned to the studio. We are the most electrifying podcast in Red Sox Nation. I am your host, Big John. Alongside of me is my co-host, Sean McDonough-Jones. And together we are 64 Deep, a Red Sox podcast. Sean McDonough, what's he doing these days? Do you know? Sean?
He still works for ESPN now.
He didn't get fired? He didn't get fired?
He might have gotten fired this week. Everybody did. So
everyone got fired. So I'm wondering if he got fired.
I think he still does some more obscure sports, but I do think he's on ESPN somewhere. I don't know.
He started off calling Red Sox games on Channel 19 before Nesson was there. I watched him as a little kid.
Yeah.
I think he's a graduate from Syracuse. All I remember him and Jerry Remy before Orsillo were there. They would do games together. And then he left, became a big shot broadcaster, which was too bad. Orsillo came in. Orsillo was great. We all miss him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Actually, I think he is one of their flagship NHL guys now.
I think you're right. I think
he was calling the Stanley Cup, I'm pretty sure, now that I'm thinking about it.
Did he call basketball at one point as well? I think he did.
I think he did college basketball. I'm not sure if he ever did NBA.
Yeah, college. I didn't mean NBA. Correct, college.
Yeah, I think he did some college and some college football. He definitely did college football also. But no, I think he's the NHL guy for ESPN now. And ESPN's invested a ton in hockey now because they're they had all the Stanley Cup games and stuff. So
yeah, it looks like the ESPN has gone all in on Stephen A. on what's his name? Pat McAfee and WWE. Those are the 3 things they went all in on, and they got rid of everyone else. And I actually tweeted out to Carl Ravage today. I said, look, if you want to come on the podcast, if you need work,
we'll have him anytime.
Many times. So Sean, it's been a long time, and it's since we've done a podcast, and I told you from the beginning, you shouldn't worry about these Red Sox. They're going to be there eventually, and they're a good team. And Caleb Durbin is one of the best third basemen in the American League, and this team was going to come together. It was only a matter of time. I mean, I was telling you that from day one all the way through June, so I'm not surprised. I mean, you might have to eat crow, but for me, it's I told you so.
I think of all the things to walk back, you certainly owe Caleb Durbin a big apology.
No, that was motivation, Sean. That's what that is. That's reverse psychology. I was motivating Caleb Durbin like any good leader does. That's why we're doing this podcast. We're trying to make this team better. And by me coming on the podcast with you and talking trash about Caleb Durbin, we were only doing it to motivate. And it worked. The results are the results. You can't look at it and say it didn't work. The outcome's the outcome. So you're welcome, Red Sox Nation, and you're welcome, Caleb Durbin, for me to helping you turn your... It wasn't their hitting... it wasn't his hitting coach, Sean. It was me. It was me the whole time.
The context of, he's red hot, and even with that, still batting .236. So, tells the story of how the season started. So
let me ask you, last night when their 14th win, when they got it, besides the fact that they kept battling back in every inning, it felt every time the Orioles scored a run, the Red Sox scored a run as well. So it was like, okay, this is a game that's going to be, this isn't like a May game or a June game. This is a game the Red Sox run it all the way. They're going to come back. I was at the gym watching it on my phone when Durbin hit the home run. I was saying to someone I work out with, I was telling him, I said, Durbin's going to hit a home run here. If it's not I said the three guys that were up. I think it was what was it, Abreu, Contreras, and Durbin. I said either Abreu, Contreras, and Durbin is going to hit a home run here. It just felt that way. They were going to score that run. Did you feel the same way too? I mean, were you surprised? I mean, the call was great, but were you surprised when Durbin crushed that home run?
No, I mean, like you said, they were just punching back at every punch that they received. And of course, they certainly got some help from the Orioles defense, who did themselves no favors. But to your point, it was like complete polar opposite type of game of how the season started. I mean, we talked about the number one thing is like you get a lead on us late, and it's as good as basically a win after 7 innings or something like that. And it was like the epitome of them showing heart and like just constantly counterpunching and all of that. So I'm not going to say that I like predicted that they definitely would or anything like that, but I certainly wasn't surprised. I mean, like you said, I mean, Durbin's been red hot, and the power is, I mean, it's not like 9 home runs on the year is anything crazy, or I guess 10 now at this point. But still, you know,
feels like more.
It's come on a little bit. I mean, like 10's not nothing for a guy of his size who didn't have a ton of power last season either. So, but yeah, I wasn't shocked by it. It did feel like one of those signature wins that they really had none of. I mean, we talked about that early in the year. We were like, what was our best win? And we couldn't even name one.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. And we got to start having the conversation now. I know, all jokes aside, when the trade first went down, we had our thoughts on it mostly because of the impact of the Rafael Devers and how it's just been trickle down economics for the Red Sox. But when that trade first went down, we both thought, I mean, Durbin, we thought Durbin was a better player than he performed for the first couple of months. And then those first couple of months happened. And I was there ripping him for it and saying maybe we were wrong. It was a hot streak. But we're getting the Durbin. It looks more like the Durbin of the second half of the Milwaukee team last year. I am concerned that this is the type of player that's going to be a second half streaky player, and we have to prepare for that every year. But let's say it's not, and this is who Durbin is. And it's not even a real word, but irregardless. We talked about it before, Sean, about moving Durbin up to the number 2 spot or the leadoff spot. I think it's ready to graduate the guy. What are your thoughts on that? I think this lineup becomes a lot better if Durbin's batting 1 or 2 or 2. Let Siegler, whoever else, bat 1. Go ahead.
I'm open to it. But I think a big reason for why I'm open to that is because we're still having to throw out like 3 guys per night that I think should probably be in AAA.
Well, who are those 3 guys?
Well, just a combination of like Chang playing last night and Siegler and like, I mean, even like.
That's the heart of the team right there, Sean. You can't take away the heart. The intangibles of Siegler. The intangible, like, did you see the catch that Chang made last night?
Sure, I did.
Sean.
I sure did. I'm just saying, like,
TS10, if that was TS10, is he? I know, and your point is it wouldn't be TS10 either. But if Trevor Story was playing short, would he have made that catch last night?
Probably, but if he had to throw it, it probably would have went past first. No, but like Jahmai Jones, I mean, I know like a couple guys haven't been starting or aren't anymore, but like the Mickey Gaspards of the world, even Monasterio, I'm like, he's at best a utility guy. I just mean that like the lineup, even with the wins, you look at the box score and it certainly isn't jumping off the screen at this point. And we're throwing in guys like Siegler and having them lead off, for example, when, you know, he didn't even start the year in the majors and there wasn't even a clear path for him to get there until, you know, all these injuries happen. So I'm certainly open to moving Durbin up towards the top of the order. But I think, again, that's a little bit more of an indictment on the roster. I still, to your point, think Durbin is just inherently a streaky player. He kind of did the same thing last year, like you alluded to, like had a very hot stretch during the, you know, kind of beginning of the second half last season, and it boosted his numbers a ton, but he did get off to a slow start last year, just like he did this year. And so we've seen how bad he can be. So do I 100% trust him still? Not completely. His on-base percentage is still below 300 on the year.
Buy a Durbin jersey. I'm buying a Durbin jersey. I'm wearing it. I'm all in on the Durbin train. But you know me, I go from 100% to 0%.
This is why this works, because you're like all the way down here, all the way up here.
I try
to stay a little bit towards the middle on not too high, not too low type situation.
You ride the hot streak, Sean. You ride it. You grasp it with all its might. You ride it until you can't ride anymore. And then when he's done and he's been beaten like a rented mule, you throw him aside and say thanks for nothing. But until he does that,
yeah. Short answer, I would be open to exploring that. You know, they still have been having him a little bit further down in the lineup in like the 6-7 spot, depending on the game and what the lineup looks like. But yeah, I think he's earned the right to at least have some games where he is up there further, and then we can maybe reevaluate when some of the guys come back, assuming they hopefully come.
I'm going to throw something else at you that you said earlier in one of our podcasts earlier in the year that I loved, and it resonated with me. And I use it when I talk to people and friends as well. And you can make the point that the Red Sox didn't turn their season around on July 3rd. They stopped losing these one run games. They stopped losing 1-run games very simply because they learned how to hit, or they began to hit, which is, I know that's the obvious Dr. Phil answer of the analysis of what has happened, but their pitching has been great all year. The bullpen has been great all year. That's why we as Red Sox fans were so frustrated with this team, because I've never seen a Major League Baseball team unable to score 1 or 2 runs in a game consistently. And you said in the beginning of the year, maybe in middle of May or early June, had they just had an average offense, which was averaging 4.4 runs per game, they would have the best record in baseball. During this hot streak, I think they're averaging 5.4 runs per game, 1 run greater than the average when you said it. So it's no shock. If you're averaging 5.4 runs per game, yeah, a 14-game win streak with this pitching staff is going to happen, because it makes sense. And it kind of, again, I'm just always right, Sean, goes back to what I said at the beginning of the year when I said training for Tarek Skubal. I said, if you've got a pitching staff, and I was actually doubting myself for a while, I'm like, maybe I'm just a dinosaur. Like, maybe the idea that good pitching beats good hitting doesn't exist anymore. But I think it's showing it's true. If you have top tier pitching and you can just score league average in runs, you're going to be a very tough team to beat.
Yeah. And that, I mean, we discussed it. Like, if they, even going into the season, like, given the presumed strength of the rotation and the bullpen, honestly, at least the back end of it, like, we weren't asking them to be a top 5 offense. That was never going to be realistic. That was not an expectation. Like, if they could just be league average, then they would have a puncher's chance. And I think that we thought they could be at least league average. And that's why we both thought that they could at least compete for a postseason spot in the preseason. And they were not even close to league average for a really long time. They were complete bottom of the barrel, basically any statistic you looked at. And that's not just the AL, that was all major leagues. So to your point, I mean, during this streak, they've got 8 runs, 7 runs, 8 runs, 5, 6, 10, 5, 7, 6, 6. So like, those were not the types of games we were seeing at all early in the year. And so that, I mean, I wish I could say that's the biggest reason for this though. But if you look at the win streak too, I mean, I think only 3 of the games did they allow more than 3 runs. So the pitching's also been just spectacular. And they honestly, I mean, they've had some close games, but they've won a lot of these games comfortably as well. So it really has been like they're clicking on all cylinders and everything's going.
They go for 15 tomorrow, postponed today on July 21st, so postponed a doubleheader tomorrow, which is difficult. I mean, one of the things that's been impressive about this run is it's very hard to win doubleheaders for lots of reasons. Being able to manage your bullpen, just you're going to have a spot starter. Not everyone's going to play both games. You're tired. So winning doubleheaders are very difficult to do in baseball. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'm sure there's numbers out there that show how often they go into splits. And we saw even with the Yankees and the Dodgers. Dodgers couldn't take them out of both of them, and doubleheaders hard. Very impressive. The Red Sox were able to do against a very good Tampa Bay team twice. And this is not a Tampa Bay team in any type of free fall. Sometimes you get lucky when you play teams. They're shellacking the Blue Jays and winning. They leave Boston and they win their next 2 games. So this is a very good team. You take it. Some numbers for you, Sean, just to wrap your head around what we're going through. The record's 15, so if they win the first game tomorrow, they'll tie that record. It happened from April 25th to May 10th in 1946. That's when my dad was born, 1937, much older. I was a second family, and he was watching baseball at the time, and that's Ted Williams, Johnny Pesky, Bobby Doerr, Dom DiMaggio. So if they win tomorrow and tie that team, we got to put like names like Wilson Contreras, Caleb Durbin, Abreu, Sonny Gray, like that's who is going to be up against. Those are immortal names that did a 15-game winning streak, and these are the people that are doing it for the Red Sox today. That's just utterly amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it is like, has there, at least at the point of when the streak started, has there ever been a worse team go on this kind of streak?
Last team to do was the Brewers last year, team that made the playoffs and had the best record in baseball and hottest one. Before that was the 2021 Cardinals. They reached 15 games. I don't remember. I don't think they finished. They may have made the wild card. I don't remember.
Which year?
The Red Sox. 21.
Cardinals?
I think they made the wild card. Was that the year they played the Pirates or the Cubs? I think it was an interdivision team. I think they made the playoffs in 21. That's the year the Red Sox made their run as well.
Yeah, 90 wins. Lost in the wild card
Wild card?
round.
Who was
Yeah.
the wild card? Was it Pittsburgh or was it the Cubs? Am I wrong on both?
It was the Dodgers, actually.
Okay, Dodgers. Interesting. Okay, so they lost the Dodgers in 21. The 2018 Red Sox that won 108 games, which is one of the best Red Sox team for a full season that I have ever witnessed. Probably you as well, Sean. 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
older than you, unless you want
I
to
mean,
argue some
I
other
don't,
team.
I don't know how you could argue that they weren't the best Red Sox team ever, just based on the sheer numbers. I mean, it was the most
Yeah,
wins they ever
108.
had. They only lost 3 games all postseason. I mean, it was like ridiculous, and
They never
cruised.
won more than 10 in a row. That's the most they won
Yeah.
was 10 in a row. And one more fact for you, and then we'll get into some more things. But Boston came in last night with a 14-game win streak. Baltimore with a 7. So the total streak was 20 wins. So the streak between the two teams, 20 win streak. Second time ever. Last time that happened, can you guess the year? And who was our president?
I don't
the
know
year
it off
and
the top of
president
my head.
when two teams played each other and they had a 20-game combined
I
winning
saw it was
streak.
a really long time ago. I'll say that.
It was a very long time ago.
80 years or something.
1884, Chester A. Arthur
Jeez.
had just left office, died of
Okay.
dysentery on the Oregon Trail.
Okay.
That's not true. People out there are gonna fact
Hey,
check me.
I'd believe it. I don't know.
Well, it's like what's that Quentin Tarantino movie with Inglourious Basterds? Did you ever watch that?
I have not seen that one, actually, but
Well,
I know of it, obviously. Yeah.
Can I give you can I spoil it? I mean, it's been out for like 30 years, Sean. You
I know.
should see it
Yeah.
by now.
I know.
I'm
I
just gonna
know.
spoil it for
That's
you.
fair. That's fair.
So the end of that one, towards the end of that movie, Hitler dies in a theater, like fire or something in the theater.
Okay.
There's gonna be a bunch of generations of kids that are probably now your age that thinks Hitler died in a fire in a theater because of the glorious bastard. So that's my point of don't believe me. Chester A. Arthur died of dysentery.
Yeah.
He didn't. I don't know what he died of. He might have been our heaviest president. Let me look up a quick Chester A. Arthur fact. You want that one, Sean? I'll give it to you.
Sure.
Chester A. Arthur fact. Did you know, Sean, who's a former lawyer and New York political operative, he surprisingly signed the landmark Pendleton Civil Service Act.
Mm.
So there you go.
Okay.
Chester
good
A.
to know.
Arthur. Last time that happened. And one more thing, Sean, I want your take on this too. You know what? I'll give you. It's interesting too. The teams they beat: Angels, Mets, winning percentages of 390 and 416, terrible. But they also beat a White Sox team with a 535 winning percentage, and Tampa with 576. And again, that Tampa team they beat them in a doubleheader, which is very difficult to do. So when you talk about the Red Sox team beating a weak AL American League, you're right, they did. They only play the teams that are in front of you. Think of the Patriots last year. You can't help your schedule, but they beat good teams and bad teams, and it doesn't matter. Sweeping any team is difficult to do.
Yeah, I personally am like, think about how many times we play a bad team and lose 2 out of 3, or like win the first 2, lose the last one, and we're pissed about it. Like I don't care who they beat. Like if all 14 of these wins were against teams in last place, I don't really care. That's still impressive. There's a reason teams don't win 14 games all the time in a row, and taking care of business against bad teams is the sign of a good team. So
Yep, and we talked about that too. And also coming back as well. Coming back against teams. I judge teams
Yeah.
that they can come back. They weren't able to do it. They've done 3 times so far during the streak. So the Mets game, with a little help, it doesn't matter if you got help. They did it. The Mets game, and they stayed in there, stayed hungry, and they still got to pull through and win the game. The Tampa Bay game, which was unbelievable, and that call by the Rays announcer, if you haven't heard it, was majestic. And then again, last night in the Baltimore game. So it's 3 times in this whole streak. They come back from deficits late in the game to win. Very impressive.
Yep.
Let's do a little bit of argument. I'll go either way on this one. I'm going to put up the argument to you that the Red Sox were always this good, that this is not a hot streak. It's just a correction to a team that's always been this good. And I will start and say the reason why I believe that is I know it was the beginning of the streak, but July 3rd, when I think they had probably lost to Colorado at that point. I got to look back. They already had a run differential of +5, and they were losing 1-run games at a 350 rate. And so I'd say that's a lot of luck. And this team had always been that good. What's your counter argument to that?
Because I watched them play baseball for the first half of the year, and they were not this good. No, I'm going to give some pushback there, at least a little bit. The offense was a disaster to start the season, no doubt about it. And that was when we were even a little healthier than we are right now, too, on offense. Like when at least Marcelo was available. I know Roman's been out for a lot of the year at Story, but the team has obviously been banged up for a good portion. But regardless, yeah, I mean, I think that the pitching, you could say, has always been this good, even though the numbers are better recently than they were earlier.
But why? No Bayo. Bayo
Wow.
spiked that.
Yeah.
Bayo,
No, that's fair. That's actually true. I didn't even think
you
about
take
that.
Bayo out back then, they had a top
Yeah.
3 pitching staff.
No, that is extremely fair and accurate, to be honest with you. And honestly, the first couple Crochet starts were not so hot either.
Right.
So if you take those 2 guys out, I mean, that's what, 19 games they pitched for a combined over 6 ERA. So if you remove those, to your point, then yeah, there's the rotation has been very good otherwise. But no, offensively, look, I'm enjoying this win streak, but I do think the offense still has real issues and real holes, and they've, like, for as you want to say unlucky as they were at the beginning of the year, which I don't think all of that was just bad luck. I think it was them just not having a very good offense. Maybe they win a couple more 1-run games here or there, but like they weren't built to make those kind of comebacks because the offense just doesn't have the firepower. Now I would say they're a little lucky with how their offense has been recently and winning a lot of these close games, just because we are doing it as it's been a by committee approach. It's not like one dude's been carrying the team, and it's not like we have the star in the middle of the lineup either. I mean, Contreras has been the best and most consistent guy all year by a mile. Willier has been up and down, was really hot to start the year, went through kind of like a lull, and then has been really hot recently. But other than that, it still has been a lot by committee. Like I said, we've got 4 or 5 different people we thought were either going to be at best utility people, maybe AAA guys that are having to start every night. And a lot of them have played pretty well. But I still think the offense is I'm still concerned in terms of just outlook for the rest of the year, unless they go out and add someone super impactful or a couple guys or something like that.
We'll get to that one. I agree with that one. I agree if they want to compete, they got to add people. But let me throw a little math at you, Sean. You ever remember that Pythagorean theorem that we went through in high school? Remember that? A squared plus B squared equals C squared? That has nothing to do with what I'm about to tell you right now. But there is something called the Pythagorean record. And the Pythagorean record actually says even with this 14-game win streak, they're still about 4 wins worse than they've earned. They should be 4 wins higher than they are today. So like I said, that 350 rate right there. Best run prevention in Boston in 83 years. So if you believe in that run prevention does win games, you can make that point as well.
You gonna apologize to Craig for that, or
we're playing devil's advocate right now? Don't push me too far. I'm just trying to say you take one side, I'm taking the other side.
Okay.
There's only so much I can debate on this one. And I mean, that's through 94 games, 3.8 runs allowed per game. Second lowest through 94 games since the end of World War II. Only the 2018 title team was better. So that's how good they've been. Again, to your point, just average 4.4 runs a game, average league average, or a little bit below league average, and we're going to be above a 500 team anyways. So you didn't need to sit there and have a ton of stars. I will argue it is more fun to watch your team actually be able to hit than try to have these stressful games. But because look at the 14-game win series. This has been absolutely fun. Brayo coming up there and just whacking home runs and these high clutch moments. That's exciting, especially if you know the outcome of it. So look, the true, I mean, you could say regression cuts both ways. A 14-0 stretch is not also true talent either, but we'll enjoy it. But at the end of the day, right, we used to say there's regression to the mean, and I forgot who the football coach was. Was it Parcells? Who says you are what your record says you are. So that's true, and we'll see what they are at the end of the year, and we'll see what this team comes to. But Sean, and we'll get to it, and I do believe that this team needs to add additional offense to it. What do you do when Marcelo's ready? When Trevor Story's ready? How do you mess with this chemistry? We both didn't like Trevor Story coming to this year. So do you really put Trevor Story in there and take Chang out? Chang's been solid. He's done everything. He's not going to win you a game with a home run, but he plays good defense. He puts the bat in the ball. He's done a good job sacrificing bunting. You couldn't have asked the guy to do anything. He's not someone that's going to cost you a game. We watch Story cost us game. What do you do with Story, Sean?
I think I'm still starting Trevor Story over Chang personally. We need upside. We need upside, whether you want to admit it or not. Like, I know it's fun and the vibes are high, but like, we're not going to win the games we need to close the season, and especially not in the postseason with him starting or any of these guys consistently getting playing time. The IKFs, the Mickey Gaspers, the Anthony Sieglers.
Stop right there. Siegler or Marcelo Meyer? Who do you want?
I still think you have to put either trade Meyer or you have to play him. How can you have him come back and be a backup or back to AAA after being in the majors all year?
They weren't winning with him there. They got figure him out.
I'm not ready to say that that's 100% correlated. You know what I mean? I don't those guys haven't played well, but I just like they are still objectively higher upside players. And, even after those guys went down, like Story's only played 41 games. After those 40 games, they still played like shit without him for like a while. So it's like, I'm not going to blame him. Obviously got off the terrible start, but it's like Story last year, if you recall, like a month and a half into the season, his numbers were awful, 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 awful. And he was terrible and striking out like just every other at bat and super low average and all that. And he turned it around. And so at least I know that that's in there. I'm not saying that he's going to replicate it. Like you mentioned, we were both a little lower on him coming into the year, thinking that he probably wasn't going to replicate it. A lot of that probably had to do with the fact that we knew he has not been able to stay healthy, and it was kind of an abnormal good health year for him. And that has been the case this year again. But I just mean that like there's proof of concept for him. Like as much as we love Chang, he's got, 5 RBIs, 0 home runs, and he's got a 647 OPS.
He's on the Caleb Durbin track. That's why
he has a negative WAR right now, negative 0.1. So that's all I'm saying is like, what's his best case? It's not anywhere close to Story's, and his worst case is probably pretty similar to Story's. So I would still bring those guys back if they're healthy, obviously. And then you just have to, if you want to do Marcelo in more of a platoon type role, like sure.
Fine. I
whatever.
want Seigler playing, whatever it might be, until he completely, we've run him out and they figured him out and he's no longer productive anymore. Seigler, I think, has got to be in the lineup. I think he needs to be in the lineup. He does things very well. You watch him have big hits. He puts the bat in the ball, positive influence. He's out there, great clubhouse guy. There's a lot about Seigler that I like, and Mayer does not bring enough to the table as of yet to make me believe that he is ready to have a starting position in the majors. It goes back to what Cora said in the offseason, that he wasn't sure that Mayer was ready to be a starting player as well. I think they rushed him up a little too fast. We talked about before that he's had a lot of injury concerns. He's been an injury-plagued player. The Red Sox have now shown, with at least from a hitter's perspective, whether it's Campbell and now Mayer and maybe even Roman, they've rushed guys a little too quickly to the majors than maybe they should have. So I'm fine. I was kind of busting your balls in the Chang thing, but Seigler's a guy I want here. I want Seigler here 1,000% until they can figure out until Mayer can really be able to show. And who knows, maybe the reason why Mayer struggled so much was the injury. But again, we still have a lot of concerns about Mayer and his injury. Is that fair take, Sean?
Yeah, again, we're going to have some utility player on the major league roster, whether it's Seigler or somebody else, that can spell him versus lefties, or, even though he's actually hit lefties better than righties this year, which is kind of weird, but he's just been that bad against righties. But regardless, however you want to split the platoon, or, late go, like pinch hit for him late in certain matchups, that's totally fine. I'm okay with that. I just mean like, what's the alternative if he's healthy? Like, you can't send him back down to AAA. Like, I just from a confidence standpoint. And
yeah, we do with Bayo.
Well, sure. But I'll say this, like, that would signal that they kind of don't believe in him. And like, what does that tell? Like, does he even have, what's his trade value at that point? If they do want to move him, then like, it's certainly not helping that, being like, hey, come take this guy. He's great. I know we sent him to AAA because we wanted to play Anthony Seigler over him, but no, you should definitely take him for your star player.
Counter argument, they're winning. And when you're in it winning, you can be a little more judicial in what you do. And I would agree with you if he wasn't injured and they sent him down, that's going to wreck his confidence. But they're winning and he's injured, and there is enough PR and goodwill that you could say, we're going to bring you back up. We're just sending you down there to make sure you can get some rehab starts and we can tweak it.
He can rehab for sure. I just mean if he's down there for 2 weeks and at a certain point you got to call him back up, or else the jig is up.
Desperation with Romy. There was desperation with Romy. They brought him up way too soon. We have our own, me and you agree on the concerns of what player is he really? And he's struggling right now. He needs to go back down to the minors and do a rehab stint. He never did. And you're seeing him really struggle in the field and at the plate too. They are dissecting him.
Yeah, but that's not surprising me though. I know we talked about that.
That's surprising.
I've been on the train of that for a long time, where I was like, what we saw last year from Romy is probably the best ever version we're ever going to see out of him. And he was great. And honestly, one of our best hitters last season. But ultimately, the guy's almost 30 years old. He kind of is what he is, and he's probably not an everyday guy, more of a platoon utility player.
Great utility guy. Good utility guy. Good utility guy. Better than IKF. That's another guy I don't want to see back here. I think we both agree on that one. There's no need for IKF to be back here. I think me and you are both taking Tony Seagulls over IKF.
Yeah.
Right?
I IKF, yeah,
Would you take Chang over IK?
probably not.
No, come on. By the way, the Red Sox have a 717 winning percentage when they score 3 or more runs, but they've reached 3 runs only 60 times in 94 games, tied for the third fewest in baseball. This is before the streak and everything. But that's crazy. A 717 winning percentage when they score 3 or more runs. That's, again, to your point, best team in baseball if they score 3 runs, 3 or more. 717. That's crazy. That's really is crazy.
I mean, that's just a testament to the pitching staff, though. They really have been so
and
good.
how dangerous his team could be in the playoffs if you just get him a bat or two. They are a danger because they're pitching so good. And if Crochet comes back and Crochet's healthy, this is a dangerous team if they can just score 3 or more runs in the playoffs. So what's changed in the last 14 games? They are bottom quarter offense to now top 5 offense overnight, same roster. Before, 27th in scoring, 25th in homers, 27th in walks during the streak, 4th in runs at 5.9 a game, 5th in homers with 1.6 a game, and they're averaging less than 1 homer a game previously, and 4th in extra base hits, multi-homer games, 17 in the first 85 games, 8 in the last 14. Only Washington has more since July 3rd, the only team that's done it. And this is the one that I love. This is baseball fans like myself and probably you as well, Sean, with runners in scoring position. They were 238 before, 24th in the league, 288 during, 6th in baseball, 2nd in the AL. A hit with a runner in scoring position in 13 of the 14 games. I love that. I love being able, you're watching them manufacture runs, and that's the baseball that I get a hard on for.
No, of course. But 288 is pretty high. That's kind of where I'm like, I don't think that's going to stay up there. It could be better than 238, but no, those are all great stats, though. And to your point, I mean, is a top 5 offense sustainable? Probably not, but they don't need to have a top 5 offense to still be like a above 500 team and maintain where they are in the standings to finish out the year. So that's the question is like, what level do they need to get to still be like a winning team? Because I mean, what were they? 11 games under 500 before this started. So it's not even like there was no sort of like gradual, oh, they're starting to play better. It was like they were playing like shit. And then immediately this run has come on and here we are. So it's like we haven't really seen any sustained level of like, okay, well, they're not winning 14 in a row, but at least they're like, winning 2 out of 3 here and there, like winning series consistently. Like it really was like 0 to 100. So I'm interested to see, like, obviously they're not going to win like 20 games in a row, probably not. So when they like take a couple hits here and there, like, can they just sustain like playing, 55% win percentage for, 3 straight weeks, which is like, sounds like a low bar, but I'm like, that really is what it takes in baseball if you're already in a wild card spot to maintain it.
Yeah. I could ask you, Sean, Contreras, Abreu, and Durbin, who's the first, if any of these players are going to get cold or slow down. I'm not going to ask you that. I'm going to ask you a harder question. Jarren Duran, are we going to see Jarren Duran be Jarren Duran of even last year? Or do you think Jarren Duran's cooked? Are you holding on to Jarren Duran and believing that you're going to get some type of production out of him? Or are you ready to cut bait and sell at his lowest?
I think selling would be kind of tough because I don't even know if they would get at this point. I mean, he's been so bad this season. But to your point, for as bad as he's been, he's still 3rd on the team in home runs. And 3rd on the team in RBIs. So I know that the average is tough and the strikeouts are high. 117 on the season and 92 games is a really rough number. And I mean, 191 average, obviously. But like I've continued to say this. Unfortunately, in some aspects, we still kind of need him just from like a run production standpoint. Like, yeah, we just still don't have a lot of power in the lineup. We still don't have a lot of guys that are consistently driving in runs on a regular basis. So it's like, I would probably hold on to him just because I feel like also trading for a guy midseason that's batting 190 is like a little harder pill to swallow than like in the offseason where some team could convince themselves that he's like more of a reclamation project and, rebuild him and it's kind of a fresh start rather than like you look up on the Jumbotron and the 191 is still going to be there if they trade for him.
Right. And I agree with you on what you're going to get from Duran value. What you're going to get if you trade Jarren Duran is he's going to be he'll be a piece plus someone else. and he won't be the headliner in that trade if you want to grab, let's say, a relief pitcher. And if that's not your angle and you're just looking to trade Duran straight up for somebody, no one's going to give you major league ready players for him, and you're not getting a top prospect. You're going to get some middling prospect that's maybe someone's 15th or 20th best player. That's what you're going to get for Jarren Duran that maybe you hope can develop and have high upside. That's what Jarren Duran is going to get you. So anyone out there thinking we can trade Jarren Duran and get an Isaac Paredes back or something of that nature, that's not happening anymore. That is gone. You're only getting a player back with a bigger value. Let's say we want, not that we would get him right now, but let's say Jackson Merrill, right? You're not getting a Jackson Merrill straight up for Jarren Duran. If you want Jackson Merrill, it's going to be Duran plus something, a prospect that's a better player.
You could even argue, like, depending on the team trading for him, like with him going into probably arbitration next year again, and like who knows what the salary is going to be like. I mean, it's not, I think his salary is like $8 million or something this year, so it's not anything insane. But there are some teams that like $8 million is like a good amount to take on, especially smaller market teams. So I could even see them being like, we'll give you a prospect if you eat the rest of his contract for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's not that high of a number, I just mean the production it's not $8 million production. I'll tell you that.
So the deadline, let's go to the deadline and trade. I want to talk about the trades then. Let's get right into it. So deadline's August 3rd, which is about 11 games away. I mean, impressive what this run's done. Fangraph playoff odds were 9.4% on June 24th. And I would have argued that's high. What, they have 10%? That's crazy. Yeah. Have you watched the games? They got no shot.
I mean, they're also like literally bottom of the standings. I'm like, does every team have 10% then?
Yeah, that's the only reason why. If they're in the National League, it'd be much lower. They're at 58.6% on July 20th. So coming into tonight, they go from 1-11, which is what your point before, to now a coin flip in 4 weeks. That's crazy. And the remaining schedule is a 501 winning percentage, 12th hardest in Major League Baseball. It's a neutral one, no easy runway, no gauntlet. They've already gone through one hard team in Tampa Bay and swept them. And, so they've already done that as it is. Last year was very similar. They actually had the second hardest schedule after the All-Star break. That's why they struggled to win the division, and it kind of fell apart at the end, and Roman getting hurt. So it's actually an easier schedule than they had last year, but the guys that are around them have an easier schedule as well. But anyways, they have a pretty much a neutral one. So it's something they can manage. You're not playing the Dodgers 20 times. So I think it's obvious, Sean. They got to be buying, right? They got to be.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, all of the messaging preseason going into the year, all of that was like, our window's now. We want to win now. We're trying to build something sustainable to win year over year. So yeah, I mean, I'll say this. If you had asked me at the All-Star break, I probably would have been like, well, I want to see what the like next week looks like at least before I would have said full commit. Because like you know this as well as anyone, like they've come out of the All-Star game and just been a dumpster fire for like 3 straight years or something like that. 4 of the last 5 years. So like if they did that again, I probably would have been like, actually let's sell still, if we're being totally honest. But yeah, I mean, the streak's continuing. I think they're in a wild card spot right now. I don't know how you could be in a wild card spot this close to the deadline, playing as well as you are, and sell to your fans that, Chapman's getting old. We got to get something for it. Like, you just can't do it. So
fans would riot. Fans were rioting and yelling, sell the team beginning of the year. You give them hope. Now you're going to rip that hope away from them. You can't do that.
It would also just be counter too, because where I will give Craig some credit is when they were really, really struggling, he was pretty outwardly saying like, we think we're better than the record.
Yes,
like
he was.
He was like, I know it looks bad, but like, we think we've underperformed. We think this team is better than what they've shown. So I will give him some credit there, just in that sense of like, he doubled down a little bit and he's been proven mostly right since then. So you can't say all that and then be like, even Sam Kennedy coming out and being like, this is embarrassing, this is unacceptable, like blah, 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 all of that. And then like they do turn it around and they are in a spot to, make the postseason. And like you mentioned, the percentage, I mean, they're like almost 80% playoff odds on Baseball Reference right now. So it's like, yeah, I think you have to buy. I think to the extent and what you're willing to give up and like what kind of pieces you go after, that could be more of a discussion, but they have to at least make some effort.
I'm looking up right now because he was with the Cubs. Craig Breslow was with the Cubs in 2023. And I believe so he speaks from experience when he says exactly what he said. He spent all year saying this roster was capable, and it's proving him right now. In 2023, the Cubs, let me pull it up too. It's something very similar happened. They had a midseason surge, vaulting them to a playoff spot. highlighted by an 8-game winning streak in July and scorching 17-9 record in August. This run propelled them to an 83-79 finish, keeping them in the wild card race until the final days of the season. So when he was with the Cubs, this has been a little bit of a better run, but very similar. Team was atrocious, and they pulled this run right here, and then they kept him in. So he has experience dealing with this as an assistant. He just has to do a better job this year of making moves at the trade deadline that makes sense. This team hopefully have learned from the last couple of trade deadlines where they panicked and panic sold and panic bought, whatever you want to call it, and they've done their workout and they've been talking to teams and they know where they want to go with it. And they also need to be good, Sean, and I've said it before. Actually, you missed it when I had that live on Twitter and I had people jump on it. I was saying one of my points I was making about Craig, he needs to have the confidence to make the moves that make this team better, but also have the prudence to be able to not make moves if he doesn't get the guys he wants. And Cashman does a great job with the Yankees. If they can't make moves to get guys they want, fine. You're going to hear from the fans and you're going to have to have PR speak. I'd rather have that than then make some desperation move that makes this team worse and we have to find a way to backpedal out of it.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
No, I agree with that. I mean, obviously the offseason this year wasn't great, but Craig in the offseason overall had been pretty good and made mostly good moves across the board. But his trade deadlines have mostly been a disaster to this point. And I think to your point, like, because he panics when plan A becomes no longer available and then plan B is no longer available. And then he just pivots to something that like clearly was kind of thrown together at the last minute. Like the Dustin May trade's a great example of that last year where like, there were reports that the Joe Ryan thing was maybe at least somewhat close. And like, I think maybe he thought that was like
Fox Sports
potential. I know. Yeah. I know. It's crazy. And then he suddenly is like Justin May and then suddenly just tosses James Tibbs in there. And it's, the rest is history. Obviously Tibbs I'd come back to earth a little bit, but he was tearing it up to start the season out. So it is just like, I don't want to have another move like that. I don't want to have another, like, let's trade for someone just to trade for someone. If we're going to get someone who's more of a bargain type player, then you better pay a bargain. I don't want any of this overpaying for someone who's not a clear upgrade. And he's done too much of that. But to your point, if they can get their plan A and really get an impact guy, then of course, like I'm okay overpaying for like a guy that we know is going to be a guy. And, like very low probability they're not a key impact player. Like when we got Schwarber back in 2021, we didn't even have to give up that much. But like, that's the kind of player where I'm like, if we had somebody like that, like sell the farm, you know what I mean? Like I'm more willing to be like, all right, I'm not going to fall in love with too many of these prospects, especially after seeing, how much Marcelo and Campbell have struggled and Anthony hasn't
injuries and there's still injuries too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like
you could still be a very good baseball player as a prospect and come through, but there's still the injury bug. It still exists. So you have to weigh that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'll finish the point, but just like if we're overpaying for someone who's like clearly worth it, which we'll talk about some names and there's some guys that I think like are, then sure, that's fine with me. But if we are sending these like last minute panic overpay for someone who's like going to be a number 4 starter or bat 7th in the order, then I'm kind of like, I'd rather just do nothing to your.
We'll go into the list of the shopping list. I just want to go through the injury list really quick so people understand what we're dealing with at this time. Garrett Crochet, shoulder inflammation, lat strain, hasn't pitched since April 25th. Still hasn't thrown a baseball, no timetable. Roman Anthony, torn ligament. Right ring finger, the guy that was not supposed to go on this disabled list. They thought he was going to be fine. He's not swinging a bat, rehabbing in Fort Myers, seeing a hand specialist. Trevor Story, sports hernia surgery in May. We touched on him earlier. Hitting, ramping up defense at 8 weeks of an 8 to 12 week window, August at the earliest. Kindly early elbow inflammation, which is good news. It could have been a lot worse. Throwing at 90 feet flat ground, August at the earliest. Ranger Suarez will be back any day now. There's a possibility he was going to pitch today. They're holding him out a couple more days. I think within a week you'll see him. So he threw a clean bullpen on Sunday, which is great to see Suarez back. I just want to make sure he is healthy before we throw him out there. Not out of desperation. Johan Oviedo, guy that we've ripped on before. First bullpen since April this week. Maybe September. Could be an X factor if he comes back though. Could be the guy that you throw in the bullpen to strengthen this bullpen if his velocity's there. We don't know. He's there. And then, right, Cutter Crawford still in the IL, but Tanner Houck, torn UCL 2024 All-Star, late 2026, if at all. Again, maybe could be a guy that goes in the bullpen and helps us. I doubt it. I think he goes more
I'd
of
be
the way
shocked
of
if he played this year.
Patrick Sandoval. It's like Patrick Sandoval's stories all
Yeah.
over again. I think next year is when you might see him back, and we don't know what type of player he's going to be. That's the injury list we're dealing with right now. A lot of uncertainty. Really quick before I'm asking them to move on, Garrett Crochet, Roman Anthony, are we going to see him back this year? Both of them.
It's hard to say. I lean no on Crochet specifically because he's been out for so long. I mean, he's pitched 3 games all year. And he there have been no reports to say he's even remotely close. And I just think with pitchers, especially like coming off career year workload, like you'd just kind of rather just say, let's just do it next year and not rush him back and mess up the arm or do anything like that. So I probably would say no for Crochet, which is kind of insane because when the injury happened, I would not have guessed that back then. But Roman, I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, how would anyone have any idea? The communication's been weird. Like it's just the injury's weird. Like everything about it is kind of strange. So I don't know. I think it's a little easier to come back as a position player, especially someone like him who could theoretically DH, for example. So I think he's more likely than Crochet because you don't have to like quote unquote throw him into the fire like you would with Crochet. But I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine because he's everything about it's been just kind of strange.
Trying to look at that, it's 120. I'm looking right now, the 120-day threshold on Crochet. Right, if he misses that many games, the opt out goes against him. He can't opt out, and the Red Sox get to get him for really cheap. So there might be a push for him and the Major League Baseball Players Association Union to get him back because it's a lot of money he's leaving on the table if he doesn't come back and pitch. It's one thing I would say might be a reason why he's going to pitch this year and force himself.
Yeah, but conversely, if he rushes back and looks as bad as he did to start the year, then
yeah, but he gets paid.
Well, sure. I just mean it's not necessarily good for him long term. I mean,
he gets paid a lot of money for a lot of years. I think he gets, I forget what the contract actually says, but granted, it's a selfish thing to do, but a man with money, a man who wants to get paid, I can understand if he's fully healthy too, right? He'll have a grievance with the Major League Baseball Players Association if he's fully healthy, fully clear, and they're going to say, why didn't you allow him to come back?
Well, the reason I was saying I don't think he's going to play is because I don't necessarily think he's going to be fully healthy, just because there has been absolutely no anything that's been announced or at least with Roman, they're kind of yeah, he's trying this new thing. Don't know if it's going to work, but versus Crochet, they're just no update, hasn't pitched yet. All
right, we'll have a late podcast tonight, but let's spend 15, 20 minutes on the shopping list. I'm going to give you guys some stats about them. You tell me if you're going after them and what do you think it's going to take to trade them. First guy, there's been some news about him. It's Shea Bangaliers, Oakland catcher. He is right-handed, 28 years old, controlled through 2028. So he only has a couple years left, controllable years before he's a free agent. 258, 327, 490 is his stat line. 22 home runs, 52 RBIs in 88 games. On Baseball Savant, 91.9 mile per hour average exit velocity, 45.1% hard hit, 15% barrel rate, and a 352 weighted on base average against a 360x weighted on base average. The guys we have to trade, of Anthony, I can never get his name right. Ianson, I got it right. Kaiser Witherspoon, Marcus Phillips, Jake Bennett could be one, Godbout, Blyce, Franklin Arias. Those are guys that we have on a very loaded farm system, especially Franklin Arias being the 3rd overall prospect in all of baseball, according to Baseball America that just released it. And they have some guys they drafted as well. None of those guys made top 100. You also have Justin Gonzalez just outside the top 100. Those are guys you could trade for Langoliers. Are you doing it?
I mean, it depends.
Are
on
the Red Sox?
Let
me ask you this: Is this a trade the Red Sox are going to seriously consider?
I think they would have discussions for sure. I could see this being something that. It's hard to say. How are you asking this? Because if you ask me do I have confidence they would get him? The answer would be no. Just because like I said, it's Craig and the track record's not great there. And we're more of a plan C team on the deadline most years. And I feel like he certainly wouldn't be plan C, but he does. 22 home runs. That would, be tied with Contreras for first on the team, 31 last year, 29 the year before, OPS well over 800 the past 2 seasons. You hit a lot of the other numbers. He plays a premium position. The defense is probably worse than Narvaez, but for how much better he is offensively, I think you could live with that. Not to mention he probably could rotate it like DH if he absolutely need to, if you want to give him a day off behind the plate. So like, yeah, he certainly would be one of the top targets if the A's are open to trading him.
You're giving up
But-
a lot. It's going to be Jansen. You're going to give up Jansen, someone else. You're getting up your top prospects for him to get him. You only have him for 2 years. Catchers decline relatively quickly, so you'd have to eventually move him off catching if you believe he's an offensive threat. That's the hard part. But
yeah,
Sean,
no, that's fair.
77 weighted runs created plus, 23% below league average for the Red Sox. It is one of their weakest positions. You go and take Langoliers, and that's the upgrade you make on this roster. This roster becomes a legit World Series contending team. It's a lot, but it's the one that could have the most impact over all the other guys that we put on here. You got to give up the most for it, though, because the catching, because Navi's been awful. Wong's been okay, but that 77 weighted runs created plus is, like I said, 23% below league average.
Yeah, I think your point is a very good one about just the position in general. Like, I do have some concerns about trading for a catcher that turns 29 this year, who's already not like spectacular defensively. And so what's the long-term plan? Does he play first? Does he DH? Like, that first is kind of blocked right now. DH is like, we got too many outfielders, so we kind of need DH open. So I don't know what that looks like.
But you got 3 years. That's the long-term plan.
I know. I'm just saying that, like, but Cal Raleigh's also a cautionary tale right now of just how much he's fallen off a cliff. And I'm not saying I wouldn't want him or anything like that. I think it would depend more on the cost. He's someone that I know I said I would maybe overpay for like the right guy. I actually don't think I would necessarily put him into that category. I think some of the other guys that are a little less realistic are kind of the guys I'm thinking of.
Well,
and I mean like overpay to give them something they can't.
Let's throw them out. James Wood I would love James Wood. I'm throwing him out.
See, I don't think James Wood is even like where my head goes is Yordan Alvarez, just because
you're not getting him.
Well, but James Wood's 23. Like, he's
you're not getting either one of them.
But James Wood, especially, you're not getting him. He's 23 years old. He's not free agent until 2031.
I'm taking those two out. Luis
like
Arias, taking him
Alvarez at the very least is 29, and he's a free agent 2 years earlier than Wood is, and he's more expensive because Wood is still super cheap right now.
All right, let's go all in. Let's get Alvarez.
I'm just saying. I'm saying I don't think that the Astros want to trade him or intend to trade him. I just mean he is the type of guy where I would give like the overpay Godfather offer for, and I mean like trade. All of like most of the guys you name, I'd be like fine with it. Because I'm like, we talked about this so much of like, I just want sure things. And I'm like, I know like he is a top 5 hitter in the world right now. Like, he just is. Like, he's even Langoliers, he's been a good power guy. He still has a 239 career batting average. Like, he's not a perfect hitter. He's going to provide more pop.
But his swing would play very well in Boston. That 15%
as would
barrel
Yordan.
Rate. Yeah, well,
doesn't he have like doesn't he
everywhere.
have like the best average versus or OPS against any team ever? And it's
But
like
you
the Red
also,
Sox or
but you
something?
also know Craig is not going to give up a king's ransom for a DH. He loves catchers. Craig loves catchers.
That's
I would
fair.
give up a lot. I would give up a lot for Langoliers. I think Langoliers would be an impact bat. We'd have him for 3 years. If you can't figure out in 3 years how this team can't make the World Series with all the riches that you have, then Breslow gets fired. So I'm taking Langoliers, 15% barrel rate. He's going to be an impact one. I'm not going to give Franklin Arias for him, but I'll give up Ianson and Duran and maybe like
I just mean more
Gonzalez.
like I think Langoliers is very good. Do I think he is the type of bat that I'm like, that's it, the lineup's good now? No. I still think maybe for this year that would be their one move. But for like next year, unless Marcelo Meyer turns into what we think and Trevor Story's super healthy and bounces back, like all those things happen, then assuming they don't, because I don't just think they're gonna, I still think they're probably a bat away. And maybe they add that in the offseason. But I've said this all year. They are multiple bats away. They are not one bat away.
They're one bat away. Go look at the free agents. Go look at the free agents in 2027. It's 27. There's nothing. There's nothing to add.
Sure.
Torres
But that's what I'm saying. Is like I firmly believe they are multiple bats away from being like legit contender. Like, sure, could they make the playoffs this year? Yeah, absolutely. They could.
But their pitching's so good. You see one more, like, especially when that being the weakest Achilles heel on the team, the offensively, you put him in there, you get to that 4.4 runs per game, that 717 winning percentage, you got a shot.
I know, but think about the playoffs over the past few years. Like, think about how high percentage of runs are scored via home run. It like turns into strikeouts and home runs, like
correct,
way more than the regular
Langoliers could
season.
do that. Langoliers could hit 30 home runs this year.
Yeah, but he's like the only guy that could do that. Like, sure, Contreras. But then
Contreras.
but like the two guys, like the Dodgers have like
Abreu.
7 guys that can do that.
Yeah, I know that. I'm not. Dodgers gonna be difficult to beat from, but we can't give
But the
up.
Yankees have 8 guys that can do that. You know what I mean? Like
Yankees are
when they're
bugs.
healthy. Well, I'm just saying, but let me then clarify that I think Alvarez is such a good hitter that I think if he was the bat you added, then we're not necessarily one bat away. Then
Yeah,
we
he's
just
worth
need more
he's worth like that.
He's worth like 2 good
two
hitters,
bad, yeah.
basically. Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
two. He's like that two birds in the hands worth one bird in the hands worth 2 bush in the stump, whatever the hell it is. 2 birds in the bush. What he's that. He's that in the hand. He's a 2 birds in the bush.
Yeah,
You got
exactly.
him.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like, if they add him, then you kind of just need more complimentary guys, and then that's enough because he is like so good. So that's more what I'm saying. That's why I would give Godfather offer for him, which I'm sure you would too. But I mean, like everybody, Arias, like Ainson. Yeah, I say his name wrong too. I'd give them all. Give him Witherspoon. Jake Bennett. Like I'm cool with that. Throw in Marcelo. Like I'll do it all. I'm serious. I'm not even kidding. Because
but we're gonna, for the purpose of this segment, James Wood and Yordan Alvarez are out of scope.
Okay.
Luis Arias, we're not. Luis Arias is out. I'm not bringing up Luis Arias because he's a left-handed second baseman with no power, which is not what they need. Nathaniel Lowe, we've seen that he's out. First baseman, left-handed. Not gonna bring him in, and I'm not bringing in Lindor because even though the Mets are in full sell mode and made most of the roster available, but Bob Nightingale reports that rival executives expect Lindor to be shopped in the winter not now. And again, gigantic contract. We don't know what's going to happen with the lockout in 2027.
Yeah, that
not
contract
worth the risk.
The contract's
An
insane,
albatross.
and he's already 32. And so that's the kind of deal where I'd be like, maybe, but they got to eat a lot of money, or we get him for like nothing, basically. But yeah,
but we don't know how it's going to affect the luxury tax, everything else.
Yeah.
So, right. So, all right. So Langeliers, I want to move on to a guy that I was very hot on, and Angel fans love this guy way too much than I think he's not as good as they're making him out to be, at least what they're asking for. And I made the point on Twitter, and Zach Neto, I said, look, the Angels kind of said, we're not trading Neto, but we're listening to offers. You know what that means? They want Franklin Arias and Ianson. He's not worth that. So his slash line, 235, 325, 444, 19 home runs, 13 stolen bases, a 769 OPS. According to Passan, 9th best hitting shortstop in the league over 3 seasons, 5th in homers with 68, pull air rate of 28.6, which is roughly 12% above league average. Passan puts the odds of a trade at 30%, but I'll let you speak on him. Not for what the Angels are asking for him. I don't think he's that great. And it's crazy to hear the Angels fans think because they're so starved, the team's so terrible. They feel like he's Trout 2.0, and he's just not. But
yeah, he's definitely not that.
Yeah. And by the way, really quick, his defensive metrics are interesting too. So his defensive metrics openly contradict each other. He's 20 plus 24 defensive runs saved over 2 seasons against, and negative 14 outs above average, which means nobody actually knows if he can play the position. He's got that weird stat that I'm not sure that I'm really curious how Craig sees that, but I don't think he's a defensive player people want him to be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's good, but he is flawed as well. The low average is kind of a consistent thing for him. He leads the league in strikeouts right now. And yeah, he's got decent pop. But another reason, I don't know. I feel like adding a shortstop complicates things a little bit because then it's like, all right, what happens when Story's back? Or are you just admitting and punting on Marcelo? And, we've got too many guys for not enough spots at that point in the infield, and we already have that in the outfield. So I'm not against adding a shortstop, but you do then start to need to have some tougher conversations there. But yeah, Neto, he's fine. I certainly, again, like he's not the we're one bat away type guy to add. I still think we'd still need some more help to get us where we really want to be. Like, again, if they add him, could they make the playoffs? Yes, that's not what I'm saying. I'm more just saying long term where we can sit here on this podcast and feel comfortable. Like the Red Sox have a really good offense and we feel good about it. Like, I don't think just adding him is enough to do that. And like I said, he certainly doesn't help the strikeout issue. He's never had an OPS above 800 at any point, and he's been in the majors this is his 4th season now. So, but 27 home runs per 162 is nothing to balk at. And for a team that's starving for power, like I don't know if we can be too picky for someone who has had that consistent amount of pop. So like I'm open to it, but I think he's one where I would really be more contingent on the price. Like I don't want to overpay for him in a way that looks bad. But on the other hand, he is only 25 years old. He's not a free agent until after the 2029 season. So he's got a good amount of control and he's pretty cheap right now. So that makes me a little nervous that it probably would take a lot just because the team control, the age, and the salary. But yeah, he's not moving like oceans for me, but he certainly would help the team.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to throw this out here then. Let's say they go for Nito. Then they go over, Craig starts knocking on the door and says, hey, Reds, give me that Spencer Steer, JJ Bleday magic. Neither one of them is a star, right? So Steer, 16 home runs, 109 OPS plus. Bleday, 127 OPS plus. You can get them for relatively cheap. You have the option, Sean, of saying, okay, I'm going to grab either Shea Langoliers, or I could give up the same players and get Nito, Steer, or JJ Bleday. Which one sounds better to you? Both of them are having good years. Steer's never lived up to the hype that he had his rookie year, though. Bleday's never been a guy that's been that great. But both are having very, very good years. You can have Steer, Bleday, and Nito give the same players that you would give for Langolier. Which package are you choosing, A or B?
For Langolier, you're saying? Or,
yeah, you could either have Shea Langolier and give up, let's say, Ianson and Justin Gonzalez and Witherspoon, or you could have Zach Nito and Spencer Steer, or Zach Nito and JJ Bleday, and give the same prospects. Which package looks more appealing to you?
I got to think about that a little bit. I just think if we trade for one of the Reds guys too, then it gets a little confusing of like who's playing where. Like maybe we send Duran
guys
out,
or we ship. You know what? I'll get to something that I think would be a very interesting trade that we won't do, but it's a good point. Let's see, because I can't go through the hypotheticals, but you're right. Or you run a platoons. Start running some platoons somewhere.
I think I'd rather do Langoliers just because I think he is better, more sure thing than any of those guys. Obviously, based on the value you laid out, but I think also it addresses a clear position of need. I think that unfortunately it does become kind of complicated if we add both of those, like Nito plus one of those other guys, because somebody's got to go, somebody's not going to play. But I just mean like those guys are signed for next year too. So not that I think they should be making moves like so worried about next year and like you can always trade someone in the offseason, but I don't know. I think Story probably will come back at some point. I think Marcelo will come back at some point this year, and so it does become a little bit of a like too many guys for not enough slots in the infield, just the way we have that in the outfield, which, that outfield thing is still a thing. And, maybe it's less of a thing because Roman's not there, but if Roman comes back. So I would rather us get less guys of higher quality than a bunch of like flawed guys to then just, because like that's what's kind of wrong with the lineup right now. Like they have a lot of guys. They're all just kind of like a tier below where you want them to be. You know what I mean? Like the outfield is a little like that, where it's like Roman, we obviously had high hopes to be like a star. Didn't happen this year at least. But like all the other guys, like they're all like pretty good players, but like none of them are perfect. Willier hadn't proven he could hit lefties and it still strikes out a little bit too much. Duran, the power comes and goes. The strikeouts are high. The average is inconsistent year over year, but like he has put up numbers overall. Sadon, we like can't help but swing in basically every single pitch.
He's gotten better this year.
I know he's gotten better. I just mean generally his flaws of like doesn't walk at all, strikes out a lot as well. So it's just like a lot of guys where like they're good players.
Can't
like,
challenge a pitch.
Yeah, they are good players.
But challenges worse than baseball.
But they're flawed, and so like I just kind of want more. This is way too long-winded, but
I get you.
Yeah, I'd rather have the like one player that's like clear, like
you want Yordan Alvarez.
Upgrade.
Just say it.
Of course.
I want the guy that's got no holes.
Yeah.
Say it.
Well, but even Langoliers,
no
I'm like, I know he is an upgrade of what we have at catcher, and I know that I have no problem, whether they DFA Connor Wong or they probably would trade him or something like that and make Narvaez guy who starts twice a week instead. Like that's kind of fine considering how bad he's been offensively this year and just more of a defensive guy anyway. Like to me, that sounds more of like okay, cool. Like lock it and load it the lineup. I feel good about that. Just put him in there and then we can still figure some of the other stuff out with the injured guys.
I mean, it'd be great with Langoliers if we're able to almost groom him the way Contreras has, and because he reminds me a lot of sort of like Contreras up the personality, where he's the catcher, and then we move him to first base, signed a long-term contract. But that's the reason why that's why I think he's going to get moved either this year or definitely in the offseason, when this offseason is not a very strong offseason, because here he balked at a long-term deal with the A's. So the A's want to go into Vegas having a team that they can market, and Langeliers will not be there for that. That's why I would bet my house Langeliers gets traded relatively soon before his contract is up. I hear you on it, but let me go to we're two more guys and wrap up the night. Interesting guy that I want to also get your take on was Gleyber Torres. He's only 20. He's still only 29 years old. It's amazing he's still that young for a guy that seemed like he's been in the league forever. Again, top 10 prospect with the Cubs when the Chapman deal happened, when the Yankees got him. 280, 395. That's a splits. 790 OPS. Nothing crazy, but a decent OPS. 4 home runs, 18 RBIs before the All-Star break, but he's currently on the injured list, already on a rehab assignment. Second base, this is why I'm going to tell you why I think he fits, and then I want to hear your opinion on it. Second base is a 71 weighted runs created plus. It's the single worst spot on the roster, even worse than the catcher. The 77 was bad. Second base is 71, and that's been obvious. For the guy that I love, Tony Seagulls, but I'm gonna play into what you said. Tony Seagulls, Chang, Romy. That's been all year that they've been unable to plug. So it's a single worst spot in the roster. Torres is a right-handed, gets on base with a 395 clip, which is a direct answer to a top of the order that ranks 30th in Major League Baseball on base percentage. Boston has run 7 different leadoff hitters through that slot. I don't think he's going to be that expensive because he's a rental and a free agent next year. You can get him for relatively cheap. I think sleeper-wise, Gleyber Torres would be a great fit on this Red Sox, except there are times where he does lose it defensively and mentally. But we also love to get the retreads of the Yankee players. But I think Gleyber Torres becomes an immediate impact on this team. He's not the bat that you're looking for, but I think he makes a ton of sense for this team. What is your Gleyber Torres take?
I like Torres, and I honestly, I always have liked him. Like I feel like he's better than what he's gotten credit for over the years. I mean, he's made 3 All-Star teams and has had some, 4 seasons, 24 plus home runs, career 265 average. These days, that's actually pretty good, especially for second base, which is historically like a lesser offensive position just
and a
across
pitching park.
League. Yeah, exactly.
He's never had to play in a right-handed hitting friendly ballpark ever.
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium's not that. Comerica's not that.
Yeah, but I think it really depends on the cost because, like you mentioned, he is a rental. He is, going to be 30 this year. So
free agent next year.
Sure. No, I know that's what I'm saying. He's a rental. So it's like, I don't.
Jarren Duran, Gleyber Torres, straight up.
I'd consider that, but it's not a sure yes for me. Only just because of the rental piece. I'll say that. If he had one more year in his deal, then I'm like, sure, why not? But then what if they miss the playoffs or what if they lose in the wild card again? It's like, and Torres walks and we're like, cool, we just literally dumped, after all that with Durant, we dumped him for,
Durant. I'm okay with that.
50 games of.
I can't deal with some of Durant's stuff anymore. Like and I was a big Durant supporter. I was a big Durant supporter when some of the stuff happened, whole tennis racket thing. I can't take his attitude anymore. The way he reacts, the things that have come out as well. He's a baseball player. I just feel like he is soft. If we lose Durant next year out of this one, it's not a big loss for us. I don't think. I just don't feel that way.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll find someone else. We'll get Seiya Suzuki.
Wait, can I throw out another name that would
Sure.
probably play second base in this scenario? Is CJ Abrams. And I would rather have him than Torres because
But Craig won't.
He's 25. He's got a couple extra years of control. I think he's pretty rough at shortstop right now defensively. So
Terrible.
I think I would only want to
why.
trade. Yeah, I would want to trade for him with the intent to play him at second, for example. But if we did that and put him at second base, I would prefer that just from, controllability. I feel like him and Torres are somewhat comparable hitters. I think Abrams is probably a little better. He's having a really good year this year. He's got an 871 OPS.
Oh yeah, he's a real deal offensively, and he was good last year too, and a young guy. I just think Washington and the way Washington sees him as a future All-Star, and then the way that Craig views him because of the defensive limitations, they just don't line up. Their values don't line up. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen some reports though of his name being floated around a little bit. I think the hesitations I saw were that people don't think he's a shortstop, defensively. And so it's is the team really going to trade for him with that uncertainty there? But I hear you. And I do think, I don't know, Craig might care about that, but he's also traded for guys that aren't great defensively in the past too. So like I'm not gonna, or like added guys that aren't necessarily stellar there. So I'm not gonna like totally rule it out. Plus, like the dude, they still won't like move Story off shortstop. So it's like he's talking out of his ass on one end, like just not really following through it, depending on who the player is. So I don't know. He's somebody that I would be a little comfortable giving up a little bit more for as well. But yeah, obviously to your point, he may not be super available. But
let's finish up with a crazy one, Mason Miller. So San Diego has not ruled out anything on Miller. Morihone, King, per the San Diego Union Tribune. I'll give you why he fits, but I'll give you something really crazy as well. The non-bad option, right? So Aroldis is 38, 22 saves, and the entire season is built on this run prevention and strong offense. If pitching is the reason you're here, then you go and protect it. Miller has the highest leverage arm likely to move, but I'll throw out one even crazier. I don't know about you, Sean, but Chapman has really scared. We talked about regression in the offseason, and he really hasn't if you looked at his numbers, but he has. There's some underlying metrics that says Chapman has not been as dominant this year as he was last year, and there's been some games this year really dicey. That game last night against Baltimore, if Chang doesn't make that unbelievably remarkable catch, we probably lose that game. We've watched him put men on base this year at a much higher clip than last year. His control has dipped this year. He's walking batters per 9 at a much higher rate this year. He's not as dominant. We had that blown save in Colorado. We've watched him blow a couple of games. I don't feel confident that Chapman is going to be able. I really feel like these one-run games, Chapman comes in the 9th inning in Yankee Stadium or in the playoffs, and he's blowing it. So I'm going to make the argument that if I could find a way to get Mason Miller on this team and still trade Chapman, which would be very fascinating how that would work. That's the buying and selling that never works. We're buying and we're selling. I'm doing that in a heartbeat. If I could find a way to get Mason Miller and trade our oldest Chapman, which is a different take than I said, and net not give up a ton because I'm getting back a lot in Chapman, I'm doing that trade. What is that crazy? Do you think that's crazy, Sean? Do you think it's doable? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a little crazy. You want to talk about messing up the vibes? I feel like they love Chapman, and he is a big personality on the team, and like obviously veteran guy in the bullpen. Like, I don't know. I think that it would be kind of like tough. I think the locker room would be a little pissed if they're like, yeah, I know you added Miller, but like, who the hell is this guy? And he's younger, whatever. But it's even like, they would probably be like, well, why don't you just keep Chapman and then still trade for him? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think trading Chapman would be tough, especially if you're buying. If you're calling yourself a buyer and you trade him, I think it's going to be a hard sell to, I think fans, and I think some fans will get it, but I think others will be a little not super pleased. And I think mostly the clubhouse is what I would worry about.
I mean, what if I could give you, what if we just traded Chapman directly to San Diego for Miller and we threw in a prospect for them too? Because San Diego's not good. San Diego is prospect poor.
I don't think they're doing that.
We'll give him a good prospect. We'll give him Witherspoon. We'll give him Witherspoon, Gonzalez.
They traded a top 2 prospect in baseball for Miller.
Yeah, they got to give up now. I don't know. You get Chapman.
Know. I mean, the trade for Miller last year was already ridiculous. The fact that they made that, I was shocked at how much that they gave up. DeVry, is that his name?
Yeah, Leo DeVry. Yeah, crazy.
Which is insane.
Arguably the second best prospect in baseball right now, and actually could be the first one because Jesus Made has been struggling
for a
recently.
reliever when you were like not even leading your division. Like, I know that they like have had talent, but it's like I don't think anyone thought that was like a good deal for San Diego necessarily, but I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like I know what's going on in the Padres front office just because I think that it would be kind of
all over the place.
Well, it would be disastrous to make that trade last year and then trade him again this year, unless you got like a similar guy back. But I just don't think that
we're trading Franklin Arias.
No,
it'd be us giving them Franklin Arias from Mason Miller.
But I would not do that just because I think you don't trade top 5 prospects in baseball for relievers in general. Like, that should just probably be a rule of thumb. And 2, it's not a position of need. Like, I would love to add like one more arm maybe, but like we don't need.
But are you scared? How much do you trust? Do you feel, are you in the same boat as me where
I hear what you're saying. I do think eye test wise he looks a little less dominant, but like, God, I mean, he's given up 7 runs all year long.
We're also spoiled. We're spoiled though, right?
He's been a tough. He's been undisputedly a top
in general.
He's been undisputedly a top 5, maybe top 3, maybe top 2 closer in baseball this year. So like, it's ERA's under 2 now. he's how many blown saves does he have this
Go
year?
back to the Kenley Jensen years, right? So like I hear you. I know how spoiled we've been, but when you've banked so much on having the best pitching staff and bullpen, and you're willing to go and subject yourself to having a little bit below league average offense, then you got to be bulletproof on your pitching and your back end of the bullpen. You got to be.
But his like FIP. So if we want to take that like as a bit better stat, like it's still 2.5, which is still good. I'm still taking that every day of the week for my closer.
Oh, he's still the best. He's still the best closer.
His walks,
top
his
two
walks
closer
are up.
in AL.
His walks are up, and I think honestly, like that's the biggest difference between last year and this year. He has nearly twice as many walks per 9 innings this year as last year, but like that's something I'm more willing to live with than if he was just getting hard hit all the time, So I'm like, I still to answer your question, I do still trust him. I do. I think that he's obviously like, I do agree that eye test wise, it's a little more shaky, but then you look at the numbers and it's like, I mean, what do you got? What do you want the guy to do?
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I am worried that we might be seeing a point where he breaks down.
Sure, but that's not my concern. I'll say that. I got way bigger concerns than Chapman right now with this roster.
Shea Langoliers. I want Shea Langoliers.
I still think the lineup is still. I said this earlier, but like it is. I don't want to say I don't feel any better than I did to start the year, but I only feel marginally better than I do.
Yeah, we need the bet.
Start the season.
1 or 2 bets. We do. And to your point, I'm even willing to sacrifice. I'd rather have 2 quality bats that are not big names than a big name right now. I think this roster needs length. I think it lacks that. I think they got a hot streak right now, but that bottom of the roster, the bottom of the, when you get from guys 7 through 9, even 6 through 9, depending on who's in there, especially the way Durant's playing, they need length. They don't have it. And it's a great hot streak, but I'd rather have 2 guys.
They need both, unfortunately. That's kind of where I'm saying they need length, but they also need like a middle of the order guy. Like they just do. Like I know Contreras has been great, but like he can't be the only guy in the lineup.
And Abreu's streaky.
Yeah, Abreu's incredibly streaky. I mean, think about like the postseason last year. Abreu, did he just go over? Like,
yeah, he's streaky. He's not this year too.
Yeah. And so
he's having a better year, but he's streaky.
I like Abreu, don't get me wrong, but like he is not a guy. If he's one of your top 3 hitters, like your lineups sound very good just because he has no consistency.
But he's a great number 5, great number 6.
For sure.
If he's your 5th or 6th hitter, that's a hell of a 5th or 6th hitter.
For sure.
To have.
But like if we add 2 guys, like to your point, like they're going to be more like similar caliber to him, not like clearly better than him. So I don't know. Like, sure, it gives the lineup more depth, but kind of reminds me of that year when they tried to do the rotation where they're like, we're all the ace, all 5 of us. And it was like 5 number 4 starters, and it was Wade Miley and whoever. And like,
what's his name?
This is going to work.
God, Martin Perez. Taco Tuesdays for Martin Perez. Yeah, it was awful. I agree with that one, but I think this team's pitching staff is good enough that would end up getting you enough wins and runs scored that you get the wins.
To get into the playoffs, sure. But I just don't see how they're going to win like 3 straight series or even 2 straight series with the lineup if he's still your 3rd best. I think they need a middle of the order guy, but I don't disagree. They also need length. Like that's the problem is like the lineup is flawed on multiple fronts. It's like they don't have enough guys that you feel good about like top to bottom. Like the 7 through 9 is pretty rough most games, but then at the same time, it's like you look up and your leadoff hitter is Anthony Siegler, and that doesn't feel great either. And then after Contreras and Abreu, if he's hot, then it gets pretty rough after that.
So wrapping it up, Baltimore tomorrow, Toronto then comes to Fenway. They're 46-54. They might be 46-55 after they're recording this podcast through Sunday with Sonny Gray lined up for that series. My a Young Award winner for 2026, Sonny Gray. Then the road, starting in Sacramento against the Athletics. Though. Not an all-star. Nor was Rick Porcello when Porcello won it that year either, I believe. Then starting in Sacramento against the Athletics, 43-57. 6 games back at Tampa in the East, 4.5 games back at the Yankees, holding the 3rd wild card. Roughly 11 games between tonight and the deadline. I'm excited for how the rest of July shapes up. Sean, we can come back on here again and they have the 2nd wild card spot or even overtake the Yankees, which is all within the realm. Also be great if they're playing the A's with like a 20-game winning streak, who is the father of Moneyball. So that'd be awesome to go against the A's with a 20-game winning streak, playing them against that. Or yeah, it'd be close to it. So
would be cool.
Would be cool. And I'd be staying up late to watch those games, which should be fun games to watch. I don't think playing there helps though. Playing in Sutter Park is kind of difficult. If they're a pitching team, you don't want to be pitching in a hitter friendly park. Doesn't work great, right? There is that doesn't match up. If you're a team that relies shutting down teams, and now you have to go into a slugfest on a team, streak could end there. But if we get to that point and the streak's still going, that's a hell of a streak.
Yep, fair.
All right, Sean, wrapping it up. Thank you. It was a long one tonight. Thanks for those that are listening. Like and subscribe. It's been a while. I'll be back again. Appreciate the love. 64 Deep, a Red Sox podcast.